our Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is border crosser. From heaven to earth. The Christ we believe in was a border crosser. Yesterday I talked about Christmas. Christmas time, we remember the child who crossed the border into exile in Egypt. Very young. As a child, out of fear of the one who was after his head, Herod. And Joseph received this message from an angel. He was a peripatetic teacher, moving from one place to another. He dined with tax collectors and sinners, and that was a scandal to the Pharisees and scribes. Breaking borders. He told stories of Samaritans, the Good Samaritan. He healed a Samaritan. He talked to a Samaritan woman, also crossing border. He crossed borders literally and figuratively to reach out to the poor and the people in the periphery. Look at the example of Zacchaeus. A sinner, he went inside the house and stayed with a sinner. He had a close-up and personal encounter with Nicodemus, a leading Pharisee. In the night, in secret. All religious groups and the elders of the people condemned Jesus for non-observance of some Jewish laws. Curing people on a Sabbath, breaking the law. Border crossing should be as natural as breathing for us Catholics or for us missionaries. Because Jesus instinctively knew that following God would mean crossing borders. He moved from one village to another. He did not stay put in one place or town like Capernaum. He always hit the dusty road. Missionary, I would like to, and I believe, is border crosser. They are mobile, moving from one place to another, going out, encountering and journeying with others, even if they are not like us or we do not like them. Meaning open to all. Being a missionary congregation, it is normal for us to be border crossers. It doesn't matter whether it is foreign mission or popular mission. As long as the imitation of Jesus, the evangelizer of the poor, is present. Mm-hmm. Initially, Vincent founded the congregation to do popular mission. But when he established the rules, he made it clear that crossing the borders for mission purposes were in line with the objectives of the congregation. This meant so the time or the day when the first batch of missionaries went beyond or went out of France to go to a foreign land. He sent missionaries to Madagascar, to Poland, etc., etc. Against all the odds, like setbacks, frustration, and opposition, Vincent was firm in his conviction that the congregation was called to cross the borders. We heard about missionaries on their way to Madagascar died and were killed. Let me quote this. Down through the centuries, countless converts have ministered in foreign missions and shared the good news through their skills, abilities, passion, knowledge, works, and lives of witness. Their dedication bore fruits at the local church, and countless communities across the continent grew and prospered. Some of these once foreign missions who received the missionaries. Territories are now foreign missions who send forth missionaries to other countries and provinces. I quote Father Danby's article. I recognize that majority of the members of your province are not natives of Taiwan or from mainland. Like me, many of you are border crossers. We have crossed the border from country of origin to receiving country. How would you describe crossing borders? What is your experience? So on the screen, you will see the countries.
Korea.
Oh, yeah, Korea.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, Korea.
Japan don't like Korea. Japan don't like Korea.
It's Korea.
No, Korea and Japan.
No Japan.
No Java. Okay, thank you for mentioning that. Where's Korea? Ah, okay, there. Now it's added. Crossing new borders promises bright future for many migrant workers. And for a missionary, crossing new borders is an opportunity to bring the message of Christ to the other side of the lake. However, little that they know that crossing the border, or what crossing the border, can also be a place where fierce wind and heavy waves meet. Crossing borders brings challenges, sufferings, and sacrifices. Anyone who crosses border is not spared from crisis moment. In other words, crossing the border promises risk, danger, opposition, and test. Now I'm going to the challenges. On that day, as evening drew on, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us cross to the other side." Leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat just as he was. And the other boats were with him. A violent squall came up and waves were breaking over the boat, so that it was already piling up. Jesus was in the stern asleep on a cushion. They woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up, rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Quiet, be still." The wind ceased, and there was great calm. While in the boat, Jesus' disciples encountered a fierce and strong wind. They followed the instruction of Jesus. Jesus was with them. they got frightened. Their fear got the better of them. And so they cried out to Jesus, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Experience of fierce and strong wind and high winds. Let me offer another gospel event. In another gospel, as Jesus sent his disciples, he said to them, "Behold, I am sending you like sheep in the midst of wolves. So be shrewd as serpents and simple as doves. But beware of people, for they will hand you over to courts and scourge you in their synagogues. And you will be led before the governors and kings, for my sake, as a witness before them and the pagans." Matthew chapter 10, 16 to 18. While crossing the border, a missionary might encounter wolves, meaning danger and risk. Jesus also mentioned being handed over, meaning betrayal, persecution, pain, suffering, and wound. The possibility of death is not dismissed, like the experience of the countless martyrs in mentioned. The idea of being in the midst of wolves could swell fear and discouragement in us. Probably this is a reason for some of our converts or missionaries to return to the native land. John Gabriel Parbois expressed enthusiasm for crossing the border. He wanted to be in China, being in the mission. This passion for crossing the border was deeply inspired by two great Vincentian missionaries, Clay and his brother Luis. He frequently mentions the name Francis Regis Clay. His letters from China speak of Clay with much admiration. He talks about Clay's long years of ministry, his difficulties in speaking Chinese, his suffering and his death on the cross. This is how John Gabriel Parbois described this experience in China. Completely apostolic, filled with difficulties and dangers, that he spent his energies moving from one village to another because there was no car, bullet train, trunk during his time in China. All the while was preaching and catechizing catechumens or Chinese, administering the sacrament, patterning their lives according to the land or to the people. And he encountered the poor in China. Completely apostolic, doing mission. That's how he described it. But according to him, that the missionary, the life of the missionary is 50% suffering. Is it true? Based on your experience, that 50% is suffering. He said, "I do not know what is in store for me in that career that is opening up before me. Without doubt, many crosses, that is the daily bread of the missionary. But what better can one offer for when going to preach a crucified Christ?" And we know what happened to him, and the rest is history. My point here, brothers, is crossing the border would mean encountering storms, fierce winds, high waves, wolves, experience of being handed over and with trial. In other words, crisis moment await those who cross borders. Missionary life won't be easy. Storm, waves, wolves can be a crisis, danger, challenge, chaos, failure, death, sickness, disappointment, or midnight. No one wants to encounter a strong storm, being in the midst of wolves. In fact, strong wind comes in wide-ranging ways like community, political, natural calamity, financial, spiritual, emotional, loneliness, depression, whatever. But these are all interrelated, connected. As human beings, we all have moments of strong wind. Wolves, a crisis moment. Sometimes we feel that the strong wind is fierce and biting, and our strength is insufficient to see it through. And so we begin to ask, what do I have to do? How can I protect myself from the attacks of wolves? And who can calm the wind for me? Or probably it can come from diminishment in our life. As we age, only falling here. When I was new in Japan, and until now, the struggling of being fluent in the language of the people posed a big challenge to me. But more than the language, is the familiarity with the culture and with people. Relational. Number 2, being alone in the parish, doing everything by myself, like cooking, marketing, doing the laundry, cleaning, practically all the household chores. Something I do not have to do if I were in Manila. Because of, we have staff to do all those things first, even driving. And most of the time alone in the parish in the convent. Because parishioners after the Mass go home. We don't pastoral parish staff, like secretary, treasurer, security, or whatever, but even cleaners. But my biggest fear is getting sick, because I am alone. And I know that I'm not getting any younger. Particularly when you reach 50. Third, and away from my circles of affection. So I have to develop support. Number 3, or the third, loneliness can sleep in anytime. The human person is a social being. Community life is part of our Vincentian heritage. We aim for belongingness, particularly for a healthy and meaningful community life. And that is not available to me at present, because I'm alone in the convent. dear brothers, loneliness enters anytime, knocks at our door, and can be felt by anyone. To enter into crisis is to be shifted. Your categories and ways of thinking get shaken up. Your priorities and lifestyle are challenged. Let me include our values. You cross a threshold, either by your own choice or by necessity, because there are crises, like the ones we're going through, that you can avoid. That is the COVID, coronavirus. The question is whether you're going to come through it, this crisis, and if so, how? The basic rule of a crisis is that you don't come out of it the same. So when crisis hits us, we don't come out of it the same. So meaning change. You get through it, you come out better or worse. You come out better or bitter, but never the same. Let us dream. Let us dream. Pope Francis, page 1. So my brothers, how do we face courageously the strong winds as we cross the border? Or we are now in the border. The Spirit of Christ. He is always our model, our rule. Let us look up to Him. Where the danger is, also grows the saving power. Let us believe. Sometimes in the wind, we find our direction. Sometimes the wind does not only shake us, it gives us direction. What does Vincent say about this? What are we going to do? Should we not desire only that which providence desires? This morning, at the time of prayer, I had a strong desire to understand the truth that everything that happens in this world, both good and evil, all the pain and suffering, all these things occur because of God's plan for the world. How wonderful is this understanding of our world, and for missionaries, how necessary. For if we struggle to submit our will to the will of God, then one of our rewards will be peacefulness of spirit. A letter of Vincent's letter to a priest of the mission. Pope Francis suggested 3 things. Number 1 is to be open to reality. What is our experience? So Vincent said, recognize what's going on, what's happening. And second is to have a robust set of criteria after looking at it, judge it. Confront it with a robust criteria. And this criteria will help us navigate across the border. And for us, this is our faith. And Francis said, the truth is that we are all God's beloved children. That God cares for us. That He would not abandon us because He has set us apart. He chose us. So faith in God for Francis. That is to be our Redeemer. And third, we bring the wolves and strong winds to the Lord in prayer and reflection. With utmost trust in the one who cares for us. The disciples said to Jesus, "Do you not care that we are perishing?" So pray and reflect. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. In prayer, we invite Jesus in our lives and trust our fears to Him, so that He can calm our strong wind and be our protector against the world around us. And to the one who handed us over, the greatest challenge is not to hate the person, not to hate the enemy, but to remain gracious and kind. You know, one of the things I learned in Japan is some Japanese concept. And this time, let me share with you the Japanese concept of ma. Probably by looking at the kanji, you know what it is. It's gap, space, pause. Google search says that ma refers to a deliberate pause at the end of a vowel before writing. It's about silence. The entire culture is filled with it in so many different ways. Conversations have frequent silence. Japan's garden has empty space, like rock, plant, and water. That's all. And I believe that this is a beautiful concept. Our society seems to be afraid of silence. Silence in conversation is rare. Even in our liturgy, the celebration of the Eucharist and the celebration of the Word, people can stand it. They try to fill all empty spaces of life, always in a hurry and busy. We find a smartphone useful when waiting for someone or something. We keep our hands and mind busy with games or sending text messages or opening our social media account. We go to FB, Twitter, YouTube. We are focused on something external. Incorporating the concept of now or silence could help improve our lives in so many ways. Our beautiful and meaningful homilies and talk are product of silence. Reconciliation and healing begin in silence. Relationship grows deep in silence, not in work and activity. Presence is strongly felt in silence, not in words and gifts. Oftentimes, direction in life is found in silence. Silence could help improve our lives in many ways. Second, a time to choose. Oh, sorry. A time of trial is always a time of distinguishing the path of the good that lead to the future from other paths that lead nowhere or backward. With clarity, we can better choose the first, page 51, or number 51. After silence and discernment, we need to face the crisis seriously and courageously, or squarely by making decisions what to do. There is a time to think on our crisis, and there is a time to make decisions. We cannot sit on our crisis forever and stay long. We have to realize that peace is not achieved simply by silence or prayer. Let us not expect that our crisis will be solved for us by someone, or someone will be there to cover us for us. Our strong wind will not become by doing nothing, or does not require our attention. We need to face the wind with courage and faith. We must stand up to the wind that disturbs our silence and posture. How do we arrive at a decision, especially that concerns our crisis? What do we consider important before making a decision? What influences our decision and our commitment? Normally, our decision is influenced by our past experience and our emotions. We have done this, and so probably this will work again. When emotions dictate our actions, later on we might regret the decisions we made. Our decision should be based on our Christian attitudes, our faith, Christian principles, our Christian faith. Our prayerful discernment we choose, our choice should be influenced by our faith in God and on our Christian values in life. But there are times, my dear brothers, that in life, that crisis outside of ourselves affect us. Like this one, economic woes, climate change, fake news, political crisis like ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia, Israel, Israeli and Palestinians. The South China Sea issue will remain a major concern for countries involved. Will China be reluctant to flex its muscle? Will she take Taiwan by force if situation gets worse? And there are many other pressing issues. We must not let the current clarifying moment pass us by. Let it not be said in years to come that in response to the coronavirus, we failed to act to restore the dignity of our people, to recover our memory, and to remember our roots. Let us dream number 99. In times of crisis, Pope Francis is entreating us to recall our Vincentian character. Go back to the humble beginning of the little company. Our vocation of serving the people. And after that, we respond to the challenges brought by the crisis. In the mind of St. Vincent, we are missionaries. We preach the gospel of hope. We bring light to those living in darkness. Our message is reconciliation and peace. To achieve that, we are asked to cross borders, step beyond the comfort zone and the usual space, and reach out to many isolated strangers independently. So to go back to our roots, and for us, because we have intention, let us go back to Vincent